Toddy, thanks for the comment, mate. How do I get started in the share market as an absolute beginner? I'm going to give you a couple of hot tips. This is not advice, so make sure that you do your own research and get your own advice. Everything that I'm going to be talking to you about is part of my first international best-selling book called Enjoy the Journey, Creating Wealth and Living the Life That You Desire. So when it comes to investing in the share market, there's basically three ways that you can do it. The first way is that you can buy stocks yourself, and that requires you to either guess, which many people do, or have a methodology in order to select those stocks. And the underlying basis of that is that you need to understand what makes a business valuable, why is the current share price as a reflection of that business's value, good value for you as an investor because you make money because you want that price to increase over time. I have a book somewhere here called Valuable, which is all about actually understanding what determines that value in a business. Now, the second option that you've got is that you can invest in a managed fund. And a managed fund is a professionally managed portfolio where a fund manager will invest into a portfolio of stocks within their investment mandate. Every managed fund has a different mandate. Some of them diversify across the whole world. Some focus on just Australian shares or international shares, for example. And what they're saying is that they're going to do their best to select a concentrated portfolio of stocks, typically between 30 and 70 stocks. And their aim is to try and outperform the market. Now, those individuals typically charge you between 1% and 2% of your portfolio's value in fees, and they try and outperform that market. Now, let me flip the camera around and show you what's called the SPIVA report, which shows you how good they are at doing this over long periods of time. Now, you can access this website yourself if you just type in SPIVA report or go to S&P Global. We're going to come down to the Australian stock market here. We're going to look at 15 years. And we can see over a 15-year period of time, only 19.11% of actively managed fund managers have been able to outperform the index after fees and taxes. So it means that 81% underperform. So the third option, which is actually created by a fellow by the name of Jack Bogle, which is called index investing. And you can find this book, which is called the Little Book of Common Sense Investing, which basically talks about a philosophy in investing called index investing. And the idea of index investing is that you have the ability to invest in a particular market and have investments in all of the companies that exist in that market. So for example, the ASX 200, like what I was showing you in that previous example of the SPIVA report, is the top 200 companies in Australia. And you can go and buy an index fund that has all of those 200 companies in that fund, and they're held proportionately to their size. So you'd have, let's say you put in $1,000, you'd have the biggest slice of the top company, and you'd have a little slither of the 200 company. And you would get the average, however those 200 companies have performed over time. Let me flip the camera around and show you what that has done. So I've just searched for the S&P ASX 200 index. I've just filtered it over the 1 year period of time, which over the last 12 months, it's done 4.26. Over 5 years, it's done 29.91%. And Max, which goes back to, I think, 2009, has done about 49, nearly 50%. Okay. Now, there's plenty of providers that have index funds. To name a few, you've got Vanguard, you've got iShares, you've got State Street. There's lots of different ones. If you just want to go into Google and type in index funds Australia, there's multiple ways you can get access to that. My personal preference, once again, this is not advice, you need to do your own research, is that there are some micro investing apps that you can get. So for example, you could set up a Vanguard Direct account, which gives you access to Vanguard investments. There's other accounts like Raise and Spaceship, which basically are apps that allow you to invest in index funds in a very simple and straightforward way. All of them have different pros and cons. So if you've got other questions about that specifically, feel free to come back to me and happy to cover them off. But it gives you a really simple way to get started in the share market. I personally use index funds when it comes to investing in the stock market. I find it very, very simple. I can allocate into a very cost-effective portfolio that over 80% of the time outperforms the market. And you can find out all about that strategy in my first book if you are interested, which is basically my interpretation of how we've been able to help our clients build over $2 billion in combined wealth. So I hope that answers your question. If you have any other questions, feel free to let me know. Catch you soon.